If you want to sink your teeth into a great stock, try searching in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The index is comprised of 30 historically profitable, time-tested multinational businesses. These are mature companies that have proven their worth and are smart buys during a bear market decline. And one of these stocks that you don't often get an opportunity to buy is Visa. Visa's biggest headwind at the moment is also one of its greatest catalysts. Visa is a cyclical business, which means it powers up when the U.S. and global economy are expanding. However, Visa struggles with recessions and when consumers spend less, like right now. But here's the thing about cyclicality. It favors those who are patient. Virtually every period of expansion lasts substantially longer than the contractions or recessions. When we look at the long-term chart, you'll see that soon is the opportunity for Visa. So, for all the dentists out there, is it time to put your money where your mouth is? Visa is positioning for reasonable growth following the economic downturn both domestically and internationally. In the U.S., Visa held a 54% share of credit card network purchase volume as of 2020. Among the four major processors in the U.S., none gobbled up more share following the Great Recession than Visa. Meanwhile, it has a multi-decade opportunity to expand into emerging market regions, considering that most overseas transactions are still being conducted in cash. Something overlooked in the stock market is Visa's generally conservative management team. While Visa could have easily entered the lending arena and generate interest income, Visa chose to focus on payment processing. This choice means the company isn't directly affected by rising loan delinquencies or credit losses during a recession. Not having to put cash aside to cover losses is what allows Visa to emerge from inevitable economic downturns in such great shape. Visa is nearly a $400 billion company and has sustained over 10% growth rate over a long period. And although the dividend yield is modest, the growth is one of the strongest and most durable of the Dow companies. So, let's take a look at the charts. As usual, when I'm looking for a stock, I always start with the long-term charts. And this here's the 20-year monthly chart on Visa Inc., and the symbol is V, as in Victor. And for disclosure purposes, I do not hold any shares of Visa at this time. Now, as you can see, going all the way back to 2009, there was a dip. But from that point on, it was growth, 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 growth. Yes, 2014, perhaps late 2018, and of course in early 2020 were opportunities to buy. But as you can see, we definitely look like we have another opportunity to buy in this period here. We're up at 201.78, which is well off of the low, but I think opportunities may be coming here in the next few months or so, so keep your eyes out. Now, as usual, conduct your due diligence. But let's take a look at the oscillators. Moving on down here, the volume is not going to show us too much. However, the MAC does. And look at that. We had a double top in the MAC, and then it sliced. The fast line sliced right through the slow line on the way down here. It's almost to the zero line. So it looks like it wants to reset probably somewhere near that zero line, though there still is a very big difference between the fast line there and the slow line red there. That difference means there's some volatility to come, and that will be your opportunity. Here, moving on down into the histogram, we can definitely see there's some volatility here, but this is a long-term base in formation now. We've had 2 months of retracting histogram, which means that it may have been turning already. Now, we're still at a -4, so we have a ways to go. But I think the time to purchase Visa is before the fast line crosses through the slow line or that zero line. So be watching out here in the next few months to few quarters, because again, opportunities are on their way. Moving here into the price rate of change, we had a very steep dive in that sawtooth at this point here, but we've come back on up. We have a ways to go before we get to that zero line, but once again, I think we've had this deep dive, and I think this is perhaps the initial beginnings of a bottoming formation. Moving on down to the RSI, the relative strength, we're at a moderate 47.71, so it's really not that weak compared to some of the other oscillators, and we are near that 50 or midline. It actually went up, came up, and got reflected back down from that 50. So I think soon enough it's going to try once again and move on up and through that. So this is one of your best oscillators, at least showing some decent strength. Moving on down here into the stochastics, the fast line has already crossed through the slow line. It's bounced off of that 20 level. It's got a ways to go before it hits that 50 line or midline, but at the same time, definitely some decent movement on up. You go back to 2011, and that's the last time we saw something this deep. You don't often get the opportunity to buy Visa. Moving on down into the Williams, definitely bottoming and basing in here, and this is another oscillator that looks like things have been repairing. So I think this is probably going to turn more soon than a lot of the other stocks out there, but keep watching the charts, particularly the MACD. Moving on up here into the price chart, this is also going to give you a good idea. I think bottoming and basing is already occurring. There's going to be some more volatility here, and I can't say that we're going to go all the way back down here to this bottom, but a fair chance would be coming down to this 50 EMA and then bouncing back up off of that. And that, of course, depends upon what's going on in the economy. I still think there are opportunities, and this is a relatively attractive price at the current level given the history of Visa, with this growth all the way through this time frame all the way up into mid-2021. So again, keep watching the charts and conduct your due diligence. And for today, that's ChewDog Charts. Thank you.